That council approve the nomination of Ron and Diane Ukranitz to be placed on the monument as 2016's Outstanding Citizens.
Are there any comments? Would anyone like to speak to this application? Councillor
Just a quick
Gilroy?
question. What kind of procedure are we going to use to vote on this? Is it going to be hands, or is it going to be nays, hays, or written stuff?
Well, I was actually under the impression that I thought we were going to form a committee to review these applications, and they would score them and then make the recommendation. I was assuming there'd be more than one. Administration?
There was talk of giving it to the chamber for them to decide on it, but it was only a discussion from council. It never went that far. There was no motion ever made to pass them on, so I believe council were going to make that
Council was
decision.
going to. I think in the end it was discussed about a committee, and then I think it was actually Councillor Long that was fairly adamant about it's a council decision and that it should just be made at a council meeting.
So right now, the way the process is, it'll be a straight show of hands voting. You may wish to, I would have thought this should have been an in-camera item so that you would have a chance to score it. Even scoring it would help, but seeing as how there's only one application, it's going to be a show of hands. So are there any other comments, or does anyone feel uncomfortable with this process, or how do you want discussion on it? Councillor Panasic?
I think as we move forward, I mean, there's only one this time, so it's not as bad, but even at one, there should probably be a secret vote, so, you know, somebody's not going, well, why wouldn't you vote for me? And that kind of thing. And, you know, that could come up, right? Like, you didn't vote for me, and especially in years where there's more than one and you got to try to come up with it. So I think it should be a secret ballot to just say either a yay or a nay that you would support this. And
Yes or no.
yeah, in this particular case, but in future years you might write in, if there's 4, which person you would vote for, sort of in the top 1 or 2.
We could still do a ballot though. If
Councillor
people-
Rose?
We could still do a ballot if council's uncomfortable with saying yea or nay on this particular motion.
Could we amend the motion then to say by secret ballot, voting by secret ballot? Because it's,
Yeah, by secret ballot, sure.
okay,
We'll
so
amend that. By ballot.
by ballot. Then could you place that as amending the motion? By ballot. Treasurer?
I would check the NDA to make sure that that is allowed. In a public meeting, the votes are usually have to be.
I agree, but in this case, we're going to do it by ballot, and forgiveness is going to be asked for afterwards. Next time, we won't do it. But seeing as that, again, sorry, we're moving forward on this, so. So it's straight yes or no.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, to bring it to our attention.
We did do that with housing though. It was a ballot, right? You didn't think it was
She's just throwing it out there.
They have never been nominated
No.
individually either?
No.
Okay.
Man, what do you got, prepared secret ballots?
I had them,
He is
He's
on.
prepared. He's on the
That's
ball.
why he is a good CEO. He's prepared for every occurrence.
I'm putting that on his evaluation.
Yeah.
Can I read them in order that I picked them up?
Yeah.
I'll make sure I text them out later.
Too funny.
First one, a yes. 1 yes, 2 yeses.
Little
3
thumbs.
yeses. 4 yeses. 1 no. And a yes.
Motion is carried then, so that the person name will be appear on the monument. I'm not sure if there'll be a ceremony. I will leave that to administration to work that out. Yes, administration?
I was going to forward the names back onto the Centennial Committee for the 150th.
Oh, that's
meeting.
with Centennial.
Yeah, so maybe they can do something at that time.
Good idea.
That's 216 though, we're 217.
Yeah, but it'll be 2:17 in no time, so maybe we can make the presentation after the New Year. Is that what you're thinking?
In the new year.
We won't have the plate anyways.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, no, that's fine.
All right, next item of business is the partnership to explore new senior housing complex. Councillor Gilroy.
Yeah, since I actually went on this sort of thing, I make the motion council approves up to $5,000 toward the partnership to develop a preliminary design for a new seniors housing complex in High Prairie.
Would you like to speak to that, Councillor Gilroy?
Actually, because reading through the information here, I like a number of things in here. One is that if it stays in the if the property stays in the hands of the Métis settlement, it would be a taxable place. Secondly, I've been lobbying for the level 3 care. And thirdly, it looks like it'd be a great project close to the hospital and an asset to the community.
Councillor Courtley, do you have anything to add?
Well, I was involved. I went to the meeting as just representing the town, and I saw nothing but positive in the meeting. Peavine themselves are willing to come to the table and create the need, the building. They have their front man, their builder there, and he's has a lot of experience with building the senior housing complexes, and then meeting with Heart River Housing at the same time. It seemed like it definitely was something that was very positive, and again, we need that in our community, and it's right at the hospital is the idea, so I think it's an excellent start of something that's great. So,
Councillor Panasic?
I think this is a good idea. Just one is a good chance to partner with one of our neighbors on a potential project. This project would end up in our community, which is great, but it would service all of our communities in the region, so I think it's good from that perspective. It obviously has a lot of large economic impact for our community if it was to be built and became a reality. This is one of those, it's a little bit of seed money to try to push the project forward, and hopefully it goes. I mean, there is a possibility of, nothing coming out of it, but there is, I know Peavine had some people that were interested in developing this. They had some money there, some financial backers that have talked to them that were willing to put money towards it. And if there's something concrete, there's money backers there if we can't get the government to do it. So hopefully we can get the government to step up, but if that's not there, those private people will likely step up, or at least Peavine thought that they would. So I think the chances of this project are fairly good, so we're likely to keep the money. It's not going to be wasted money.
Councillor Tanaka?
I think this is a very beneficial project. We won't know if it's feasible or not unless we put money towards seeing what's available and what can be done. Just for clarification, Councillor Panasic, what's level 3 care?
That's the one after level 2 and before. Level 3 care is unscheduled care. I think that's the best way to put it. Like in level 2, what you have, at the lodge now, they get their meds at a set time. They have showers scheduled at a set time. They might get a shower every, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. but that's it. And so if in level 3 care, they might have an accident and need a shower on another day, and there's nobody there to do it for them. So that's the kind of thing. There's a lot of unscheduled care. They may need help getting out of bed, may need help to feed themselves, sort of unscheduled. You don't know what they're going to need.
What JB Woods has now.
Well, it's below JB Woods. That's JB Woods level 4. It's in between the, yeah.
So to live in the lodge, you have to be able to look after yourself.
Yes.
Completely. So, and to live in the nursing home, you have to be not able to look after yourself. So this is in between. Councillor Rose.
I think that the concept and the idea is great and definitely needed in the community. I just wonder if there's benefit, since we just discussed how it's regional basically, and it's for the area and not just for the taxpayers of High Prairie. Is there value in bringing this to intermunicipal and having the county involved as well?
Absolutely, there's value in that, yeah. And I'm kind of thinking that, you know, if we would approve up to 5,000, and then we could talk to the county, and then we would know we'd have some money, whether they could chip in to make this happen, and any other stakeholders that might be interested. I don't know who else, but the county would probably chip in some also. Yeah, I'm not sure if about Heart River Housing, because there was the 3 partners, if they were going to contribute. I haven't heard anything, but
Haven't heard back.
yeah. So that's
Yes,
the 3.
Councillor Corley.
But that was the original, when we after we come out of that was the original, where each was chipping in 5,000 to create a sum of money to take the project to start the preliminaries, to start the drawings and starting the research and into lobbying and trying to get some more information and carry on, right? Because you need a little bit of funding to get that going, right? So
We might be able to, because the estimate from their engineer there was it would take about 15,000 to get the concept drawing done. So if we can get the county at the table and they take 1/4 of that load, now all of a sudden it's a little bit under 4,000 each, right? So it's not 5,000, but 4,000. So.
I was just wondering why the county wasn't invited to the meeting to start with.
It was just such a preliminary meeting. It was, you know, here's this idea up there. What do we do with it?
Okay.
It wasn't, and then by the time we were done, okay, what can we do to take this idea? Everybody thought it was a good idea. How do we move this forward? And this was seen as the next step, is to try to get enough money together to get this concept drawing done. Because without that drawing, you can't take it to the government, you can't take it to any funders to make this, whether it's government or private individuals.
Councillor Gilbert.
Brian just brought up a point that I hadn't thought of before, and what if there's only 2 partners out of 3 that actually approve the 5,000? Does that mean the project falls through and we keep our 5,000, or what does it mean?
I think we have to sit down and get a group together to discuss this and get a formal group, you know, including the county to find out what's happening. And before any money is spent, did everybody approve it? Like, I don't see this just being a check written to Peavine at this point. It would be council approving this in principle, and then we get this other group formal together to say, okay, yes, we've got it, let's move it ahead.
Did you have a question? Councillor Gilbert?
Does that then change the motion if it's not a guaranteed thing? I don't want to prove that if we're going to commit ourselves to this and this project's not a go. You know, I know it's only $5,000, but still, it's the idea that maybe we need to change the motion to approval upon the verification the other 2 partners are going to be involved, or something like that, that would guarantee that we're not putting the cart before the horse.
tend to agree with Councillor Gilroy. I would actually think that Big Lakes County definitely should be involved here. I'm also concerned that the last discussion we had with Heart River Housing, they were talking about putting an extended care wing on the hospital, and now have they decided not to do that, and they're moving in a different direction? They also talked about having a multiplex of their own being built, and that was one of their asks, that we take that forward to the minister. So I'm kind of wondering, I know Peavine is exploring options, but is Heart River, what exactly is going on there? Because it seems that they're changing their priorities on the fly.
I would say yes, that there is a little bit of a change, but the reality is that for Heart River Housing, the level 3 care off of the existing lodge was I guess would be like a number 3 priority on their list for funding. So it's not going to happen anytime soon. Okay, it's just not going to likely happen in the next probably 5 years, by the time the other first 2 priorities become a reality, and that's what they're pushing for. So this is a way to move up level 3 care in our community in another way, and that was one of the considerations. So yes, they are sort of changing a little bit, but that was the rationale. This is a way of moving it ahead and seeing if it goes ahead. Their priority would change to having it, the level 3 would be done in this area as opposed to off the lodge. And I mean, ideally, if this project could go ahead and was a big enough scale, we may not have the existing lodge. It would just move over to the other one. So it would just be run there. And not keep Pleasant View, which is it's a 60-year-old building there. It's in good shape, in reasonably good shape, but it's old.
It may be old, but they're pouring in money into renovations, and now they put in the sprinkler system, and they've got an extra wing on. They've done all these.
And it's been maintained, but at the end of the day, it's a 60-year-old building that's been renovated on and is not, been purposely, right from the start built the way that they would like to have it, as this would. So that's the idea.
Well, that's a different conversation. Yeah. So, I tend also to agree with Councillor Gilroy that perhaps the motion should be amended, because I'm not sure if we're prepared to put the 5,000. At least I'm not prepared to put the 5,000 in to a preliminary design until I know that the Big Lakes County is going to be a partner in this also. Councillor Gilroy?
If I would be able to amend it, I'd say that we approve it upon confirmation that the other 2 partners here have approved it themselves. I'm willing to put the 5,000 if the other 2 have guaranteed they're putting the 5,000, because that's the initial report we have here. But if the other 2 are not going to put the 5,000 in, I don't feel comfortable approving it. I want proof that they've approved it and they're going to put their money there too. Whether the county's involved at this stage or not, I would want proof the other 2 are going to do it.
Councillor Rose?
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to clarify, because I don't think that Councillor Gilroy was speaking about the county. He was speaking about.
He's already clarified.
Yeah, he did. He just clarified that. But I would like to see that we did bring it to. I don't know if we want that in a separate motion, that we brought this idea, especially if it's approved, to intermunicipal, so they have the opportunity to see what is happening and the decision already of this council to put forward some funds, and to have them involved at the preliminary stages. Doesn't necessarily make our involvement conditional on that, though.
Administration?
I got a motion, and what I would suggest is that the wording be up to a maximum of $5,000. So if you do have other partners coming in, that's the most that you can put in, but it could be lower.
Yeah, and I thought I got that with the up to 5,000, so it might be less.
So, what my motion would suggest that it read that council approve up to a maximum of $5,000 toward the partnership to develop a preliminary design for new seniors housing complex in High Prairie, subject to the other partners also committing to the partnership. Funding, I guess.
And if they don't chip in, there wouldn't be
Yeah.
enough money to
No.
get it done anyways.
Partnership.
Funding.
Equal funding.
Yeah, you can-
Are you okay with that amendment? Who made
Mhm.
that motion?
I-
I made the motion.
Yep, I made
I'll give it the amendment.
All right then.
Can we read that again?
I just wanted to get it.
Okay, that council approves up to a maximum of $5,000 toward the partnership to develop a preliminary design for a new senior housing complex in High Prairie, subject to the other partners also committing to the partnership equal funding.
Okay. Any other comments? All in favor? We bring it to the intermunicipal.
Yeah, I got it written down.
Thank you. Okay, next item of business, carried, motion is carried. Subdivision applications, could we get a motion on this?
Yep,
Councillor
that-
Panasic?
That Town of High Prairie Subdivision and Development Authority approved the subdivision application SUB 2016, and the developer is to comply with all conditions of the Town of High Prairie Development Permit number 21, 2015.
Comments? Anybody want to start? Councillor Tanaka?
I don't want to deter Daryl and Cindy Shuchuk because they are one of our prime developers, but it does cause me a little bit of concern when the Mackenzie Municipal Service says in their letter, the proposed lots will not meet the minimum lot size required under the land use bylaw. So, again, we have a bylaw and we're seemingly making an exception to one person. That causes me a little bit of concern.
Mr. Warrenson?
I was talking to Havan about this, because I knew it was gonna come up. Anyways, the planning commission is meeting within the next week here to discuss this also. So, the MPC are allowed a variance. So with the variance, in talking to Havan, because it is existing, it wasn't supposed to be subdivided. If it would have been known that Daryl and Cindy were gonna subdivide this at the beginning, he probably wouldn't have been approved. But from what I understanding, it was supposed to be a standalone development, and he was gonna sell it all as one. So even with the variance that the MPC is allowed, we're short like 2.5 square meters of site size. I think the site size is supposed to be like 3,500 or 350 square meters. And right now it's like at 290, the lots. So Havan informed us to have the MPC meeting, and that's our next step. So, and I believe it's on Wednesday, next Wednesday.
So this motion should be defeated then, or is that?
No, that's good.
It's a good, okay, all right. Councillor Rose?
I was just going to say, I mean, I agree that, you know, making variances and not having the size fit in under our land use bylaw is a bit of a concern, but the reality of the property doesn't really change. In essence, it'll still be, it was an approved use to have 2 residences and to have 2 parking, or two sets of parking, and so it won't really change whether they own it or whether they rent it. So it is one of those things that it's very close. Like, we're not actually going to change what it looks like to the neighbors, except for really we're going to have owners instead of renters, and generally they look after their properties at a higher level sometimes if there's an ownership. So,
Councillor Gilroy?
I'm agreeing with Councillor Janaka on the precedent that we'd be setting. This time it's only just a couple feet. What protections does the town and the residents have that someone else may just use this as a precedence to do a different amount that still does not come underneath the land use bylaw But they said, you know what, you did it for somebody else, you need to do it for us. What sort of protection do we have?
Councillor Courtly?
I don't see that as an issue really myself. We make the decisions individually for each person and the needs they have. So, and reading this, it says, right from Havana, it says this should not have a negative impact on the surrounding properties. And that's what we should worry about is the neighbors that are right near that area. And he's saying it's fine, basically, out of this letter. So I'm for it.
Councillor Panasic?
I'm in support of it, and I think, the fact that, like Councillor Rose says, it's not going to impact the neighbors, and the use was there as a duplex already. They're going to live there the same way, whether it's subdivided or not. So in this particular case, I think it's fine.
I have two questions. One is, was this a discretionary use or?
It was a discretionary use, and it went to the MPC, and they approved it.
Okay, so it was already a discretionary use, which is a variance right there. And the other thing is that the Cornerstone development was built and sold as high-end single-family dwellings. We have already moved to put a duplex in there, and when you say it's not going to impact the neighbors, I do not believe that. People bought those lots because they thought they were getting single-family dwellings. They were not expecting multi-residential in that subdivision. It's going to end up in the same type of development that we have by the Green Acres, where those two high-end executive homes are sitting right next to that row of industrial lots just across the street. I mean, what a horrible use of land to put two beautiful houses and then you move into this industrial land where I believe Alan Smith had his welding shop, and the blue, it's a strip mall, an industrial, a commercial strip mall. So we're taking good residential property that people are expecting to build nice houses in, similar to the houses that by the United Church. How would you feel if there was duplexes all interspersed there? That was supposed to be another high-end development, and it was a high-end development. So I don't think it's fair to say it's not going to impact the neighbors. We don't know who the neighbors are, but I think they bought in good faith, thinking that it's zoned single-family residential. Starting to vary it now is not keeping faith with whoever is buying. And I agree with Councillor Danaka, where she says, I don't want to hamper development. I think that Daryl and Cindy Suchuk have been a boon for our town. They have taken the effort to go and do infills and have done a tremendous benefit. They are the only ones that have been building. But in this case, he put a duplex there with a variance, and now it's becoming apparent that perhaps that was not quite a financial move that made sense. And unfortunately, I don't think that we're able. I would not agree with subdividing it again, and I worry about the precedent that will be set. Councillor Rose?
That's an R2 area, so you can't go on the assumption that there was never going to be a multifamily unit in there. The only area we have that's R1 that's deemed only single-family homes is the subdivision behind the United Church. Every other area is R2, R3, R4. So unless you bought in an R1 area, you can't determine for sure that you're not going to have a duplex or you're not going to have a suite or something like that. And if we're concerned that the duplex was approved, so we can't go back. If this council didn't want to approve that, or if that's where the decision should have stopped. At this point, we'd actually be improving the quality of the neighborhood by condominiumizing and putting ownerships and individual titles on that home, than to create a duplex area. So we'd actually be improving things by approving this subdivision.
Are there any other comments? Okay, all in favor of the motion to approve the subdivision application? Opposed? Motion is defeated.
So what happens with the planning commission then, or did you have
it'll go to the planning commission, and what will they decide there, or what happens there?
We'll have to go now.
Okay. Would we send a letter then to, Chuchuk's?
Yeah.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda, could we have a motion, please? Councillor Panasic?
I move that the council receive CAO Brian Martinson's written report and action list for information.
Any questions on the report? Councillor Gilroy?
I'm curious about you meeting with the Alberta Municipal Affairs Stakeholder Relations Manager. Was that this planned one, or is that because she was in the area? How productive was it?
She was in the area. She also met with Northern Lakes College, and what they were out in a finding. They were looking for people to basically be nominated to some of the committees and from the government side of things. So I also give her the packages that we had taken to AUMA regarding the hospital and integrated college, and filled her ear a little bit and sent her off with a bunch of information. Basically told her that we're dealing with various number of ministers, and somebody had to get all these people together in one room so that they were all on the same page and all agreeing to the same thing. So it was a good meeting.
Any other questions on, comments on the CAO report? Councillor Panasic?
Yeah, just wondering if there's anything more has happened with First Aberdeen Properties with these other people coming in. Like,
I haven't heard anything lately,
okay.
but yeah. I see the Boston Pizza are taking out ads in the local paper, looking for investors. Franchise, yeah. And going to the action list, the first one in the blue there on the first page, the windows will be installed in the Golden Age next week, and then that's the last project that we have on that, and then that'll be closed off too. So.
Any other questions on the, Councillor Danaka?
The very first motion, 493/15. So you've now completed a draft agreement with the rec board?
Yes, Lori has done that, and I don't know if did she take that back to the rec board? Have you seen that draft?
The last meeting it was approved and will now come for council.
Oh, it was approved. Yeah,
Draft was.
not on the budget.
The lease agreement.
The agreement.
I can't remember.
I know she provided me with it. No, it wasn't.
No.
This
So it's in Lori's
was
hands still?
basically all the information from the intermunicipal agreement was combined into one separate agreement between the town and the county and the rec board. And so that hasn't gone. Okay.
Any other questions? Motion is to accept the report as presented. All in favor? Motion is carried. Checklisting, can I get a motion? Councillor Gilroy?
I move that council receive the check listing for council for September 14th to October the 11th, 2016 for information.
Okay, and as you're all aware, if you have questions, please contact the treasurer. Administration?
We found some information, or Terry did, that it was item, what was it, 17
I don't remember the item number.
of the review that council had previously on the government review.
Johnswood report?
Yeah, and that was one of the items that they said to remove
We removed the checklisting.
the check listing. So
It had been removed.
we brought it back because I think it was Councillor
It's a
Carrier
motion
had
by Council Carrier.
Carrier to provide it, so. But they say in the report that it wasn't supposed to be part of the agenda, so we'll keep providing it until you tell us no.
Okay. Those that want to look back to the Johnston report can see the rationale for not providing it. All in favor then? It's carried. Next item of business is the financial fair. Could I have a motion? Councillor Rose?
That council approve the attendance of any council members wishing to attend the Big Lakes County Financial Fair on October 28, 2016.
Any discussion? Any comments? Councillor Panasic?
Yeah, I don't know if this is something that we should be necessarily paying our counselors to go to, right? That's, I have to disagree with that one, just because, I mean, it's, people are going there to learn how to handle their budgeting and stuff. I don't know if it's something as a council that we need to be at, and that we should be spending town's money to be there on. That's just my thoughts.
Councillor Gilroy?
After talking to the chair, Louise, she basically said that we are welcome to be there. We will not be having a table or any other representation, but she invited us to come and attend, and just to get to know our constituents, is the way she put it. So if that's the case, I would probably ask for an amendment to without honorarium.
Councillor Rose?
Yeah, and just further to that, it was, she's invited the county, the FCSS board. They would like to have representation and some support for the community and to start to know who the board is, the FCSS board is, as well as the town council and county council. And they've got, like, Danielle's there speaking, Minister Larby's there speaking, and so it's not just a financial fair with a bunch of booths. Like, there's lots of speakers there throughout the day as well, and they did want to have some representation.
Councillor Courtney?
I won't be able to attend. I'm at the intermunicipal 1 o'clock tomorrow, so
It's on for 6 hours.
it might go 6 hours too. You never know. I don't know how long they go.
No, for sure. No.
It'll be probably 4 anyways. So
Who made the motion?
I made the motion.
Do you want the amendment, or are you leaving it
That's
stand?
fine. We can, but we should, I do think that we should have representation
I'm
and,
planning to attend for a little while,
yeah.
and I don't want an honorarium for it, because I'm not gonna be there for 4 hours. So.
Then
Yeah,
that's,
I think minimally the FCSS board, if we possibly could go, or we could, yeah, I would just say we can amend it just to be FCSS board without honorarium. That's not an issue.
you wouldn't need a motion for the FCSS board to attend, because that would be a decision of the FCSS board members, because that's their board. So they would be expected to attend and probably participate and charge the honorarium. I find that when you make motions that say without honorarium, that's a slippery slope, because the people who are taking time out of their day to go have got to decide whether or not they are leaving their work where they will not be paid to attend something where they will not be paid. So, so saying without honorarium, that's each member's choice not to charge the honorarium. It isn't, I don't feel that it's up to each member of council.
I withdraw the amendment.
to,
I withdraw the
because if they leave work, they have to,
Yeah.
okay?
I withdraw the amendment.
So you have the motion to attend the the financial fair. Is there any other comments? No. All in favor of attendance of all council well, could you read back the motion?
That council approve the attendance of any council members wishing to attend Big Lakes County's financial fair on October 28th, 2016.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion is defeated. Next item, the Association of Professional Engineers. Could I have a motion? Motion?
I don't really understand this one, so somebody else will have to, what they are.
they are, do you want to make the motion? Doesn't matter.
I make a motion the council receive the invitation for Mayor Cox to attend the APEGA reception and dinner for information.
The APEGA is a professional engineers organization, and MPE is one of the attendees of this reception in either Peace River or Grand Prairie. Once a year, they send out invitations as to just ensure that their members are being invited, and it's kind of like an annual progression through the province. So.
Like an update or something.
Yeah, maybe an update and a get to know and of networking, et cetera, et cetera. So, and if anybody goes, if the mayor were to go, it would be an overnighter, because obviously you're having a reception and you're having dinner and you're going to have drinks and you're not going to be driving back at 11 or 12 o'clock at night. So, in saying that, are there any other comments or questions or anything else on this? Councillor Rose?
Just beyond that, do you find value? Is this something that you thought that as a mayor you should be attending, or you would want to? I mean, there's lots of things that we get the opportunity to send people to, but not all of them have value. You probably already looked at this and know whether, no.
I myself would agree with Councillor Danaka and Councillor Panasic on the, similar to the previous one. It's a good idea. If I lived in Peace River, maybe I would be, or Grand Prairie, I'd be making more use of it, but I don't think it's worth it for our place. We see these people at AUMA. This is their union. This is their, so it's, you know, it's their point of view, engineering. Councillor Gilroy?
Since we are on such good terms with MPE, do you think that they would be able to supply us with the highlights? Instead of us going there, they could just give us a fact sheet or something on the highlights of what
Sure.
goes, and that way we don't have to spend $320 or more.
Yeah. So we'll ask administration to give us, to contact MPE and give us a highlight. I'm certainly sure MPE would be there as part of their networking thing. So, all in favor of that, receive for information? Motion is carried. Remembrance Day ceremony. Councillor Rose?
That council approve Mayor Cox or delegate to attend the Royal Canadian Legion Remembrance Day ceremony being held on November 11th, 2016.
Any comments, any questions?
You're able to attend?
Yes. All in favor? Okay, let them know that I'll be there. Okay, Community Engagement Center on the health. It's on health. Community Health and Wellness Clinics Community Partnership Team. Councillor Panasic.
Move that council approve any councillor that wishes to attend the High Prairie Community Engagement Session being held on November 7th, 2016.
Okay, this course is, or this session is bringing together a lot of the health providers in the High Prairie area, and they are going to discuss the programs that are available and that they are involved with. So it would be a good day, and I think it's from 10 to 4, and it's just presentations from different health providers. So you would get a lot of information on what's available for mental health, child care, child services, whether they be pediatrics, audiology, speech therapy. Each one of these different sections are going to be doing presentations. So I think those that can, this would be a good learning workshop. Councillor Rose?
Yeah, I was just going to say I agree. I did get the opportunity to talk to Dr. Worry and Dr. Ibach when they were in town about this and about being able to get more counselors and more community members involved in these engagements. So I think that we should probably try to attend if we could.
Any other comments? All in favor? Motion is carried. Lobby government effectively. Could I get a motion on this? Councillor Gilroy.
Yeah, this came across a little while ago too. So I recommend the council, or move that council receive the invitation to attend the Lobbying the Government Seminar in Edmonton for information.
Okay, any comments? Councillor Rose?
I've looked into this a couple times, and I think that this is an excellent opportunity. I don't know that we actually have to go. I mean, right now it's scheduled for the 16th, and but it's very costly for each councillor to go because of the location, right? We have to go to Edmonton. I actually made a call to Grant MacEwan University, and I asked them about their corporate training, and they will have the same speaker. We could arrange the same speaker to come into our area for a cost of approximately $3,500. Now, I mean, that's more than our cost of $773. But actually, when I looked at the $773, Brian, it didn't include the cost of the course. It would be the course on top of the honorarium and the travel, right? So it would be more like $1,100 per person. So for what it would cost us to send 3, we could get a session here in the area. We could invite the county. We could invite members of First Nations. We can invite other communities as well, and we could run this lobby government effectively course in our area.
Charge them all.
We could. It could be free for us. So I thought that might be something we might want to look into.
Make a note. Sounds like a good idea. So, all in favor of receiving for information? We have money in our training budget. Actually, that might be a good usage of. Next one, Little Smoky Ski Area Strat Plan. Councillor Rose.
The council approved the attendance of any councillor to attend the strategic planning session at the Little Smoky Ski Hill on Monday, November 7th, 2016 at 9 a.m. That is a conflict right away, as you guys know. I'll
Comments.
speak to it.
Councillor Rose?
So first of all, it is a conflict. So we've approved any councillor to go to the health meeting. Approving this is the same amount of money, so it's not going to change the council budget because you can only go to one meeting, right? You can't go to the strategic planning and to the health session. There you go. But I also did a little bit of research and called, who was it? Rita. And discussed with her just sort of some of the numbers, because I know that we as a council pulled funding from the ski hill because just sort of cutting back on some of the grants. And I think some councillors were concerned about how many people from the area use it. They did do a report, and they said that the #1 user of the ski hill is Big Lakes County area. So we are their #1 user. And they're not overly concerned that we're not supporting it financially, but they would love to see that they have representation at the strategic planning because of us being such a big user of the ski hill. They'd like to see that we're involved and that we continue to support it.
Councillor Danaka?
I just have some concerns regarding, since we are pulling our funding, what's the purpose of us participating in their strategic plan? And the other thing too, this is an offshoot to this, is that this recreation area or recreation is available outside of our jurisdiction. And yet we gave them $5,000 towards that, but yet we have EC Bar Ranch that we're not giving them any money. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Is that like we give money to one recreational facility, and yet we don't give any money to any other facilities that serve a broad base of people. So I see no need for us to attend this since we've pulled our funding for the upcoming year.
Council Administration?
Actually, Rita had called me a couple times, and she was very adamant that she wanted council's voice at this meeting. And she was aware that all the members knew that we had pulled out our funding, but because of, like Councillor Rose said, that we had such a large number of people taking part in the ski hill activities and using the site, that they wanted basically our input also.
Any other comments? Councillor Gilroy?
I actually represented council at the last time they met together, as you know, and I'm just wondering if this is partly because I was quite outspoken on giving them some ideas on how to improve their property and their operation. I wish it was a different day because I find that both projects are valuable, the health one and this one. But I do understand that we have to choose probably one or the other.
Well, you could go to both. I mean, this one is at 9 in the morning and the other one lasts until 8 at night.
You haven't seen the way they talk over there.
We have their agenda right there. They're done at 3 o'clock.
Council, just, is there anyone else that would like to make a comment? I tend to agree with Councillor Danaka in the sense that it is Big Lakes County entirety. It is the town of High Prairie, but it is, when they say Big Lakes County, they actually mean a lot of the Big Lakes County residents. So schools are going out there, but the schools also have county participants in the schools. So I'm leaning towards saying Big Lakes County, you should be representing that, and perhaps we could get a copy of the strategic plan when it's completed and go from there. Because at this point, doesn't sound like in our budgeting exercise that we will be turning a corner and saying yes, we do support them. So, Councillor Rose.
Again, they're not looking for funding at all. They are just looking to increase or at least maintain the usage. So us being part of the strategic plan because we're in our region, one of their biggest users or their biggest users. So it isn't really to try to convince us to come on board and pay our $5,000 a year. So yeah, so it's definitely not a hit for more money. But I was curious, and I don't know enough about the ski hill, because we're comparing it to Easy Bar Ranch. It's a private business that's not owned or operated by a municipality. Is the ski hill, because I mean, we're getting this information from the mayor of Flair, and all the invites have been via municipal invites, right? So do we know, like, is it a private landowner that runs the ski hill? It's owned by a municipality. So it's sort of like us asking for support for our pool or for our arena if we were finding that we had more people from Smoky Lake using our pool, we would want to get them involved and say, hey, how can we run our pool in a capacity and in a way that would enhance the service for you guys, because you guys are one of our biggest users. So I think that that's more what they're saying, because I thought that it was a municipal-owned service.
It's owned by all of the municipalities, and I believe it's a society, and they are the board members, so it'd be very similar to the recreation board. And you're right, it would be like us as the recreation board, or the recreation board going out and asking adjacent municipalities, how would you like recreation formulated? So in Big Lakes County, in our municipality, using our facilities. Okay, Councillor Panasic, one last comment.
I was just going to ask, is there anybody that was planning on going to this given the conflict and everything else? Because there's lots of talk, and would anybody be going, or
if I could balance the day, but to tell you the honest truth, I'm not even certain if I'm here for either of the. I would like to see that the option is available for somebody, and that we can at least tell, because I think it's also a good neighbor thing, right? They were asking us to attend. They're inviting us to be part of their strategic planning. Now, there's no guarantee that even if we approve it, somebody can attend, but then we're at least sending back a response that says that we've approved it and we're hoping that somebody will be able to attend.
Okay. Any other comments? No. The motion is for the attendance of any councillor. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is defeated. Next item of business is the council reports. Moving on, the first council report is the mayor. You have the written report in front of you. Do you have any questions or comments? Councillor Panasic?
I guess I'm just wondering about a little bit with the sort of the specifically about like the approval or of Tolko coming back in. Like, I know you went on the radio and announced that it's been approved. And
95% or whatever, but
yeah,
you do
but
have
I
an
haven't
update
heard.
on that?
No, I just wondering where
It is
it
going
came.
to the intermunicipal meeting tomorrow, because Jeff Chalafou has phoned and asked me to put some pressure on Tolko to actually make a formal announcement. And he said he was also going to phone Ken Matthews and also ask him to join me in either getting a group of the partners together again or to ask Tolko. So it's not just me, it's the partners asking, we would like a formal announcement. So they haven't made a formal announcement. You've seen the emails, they've been all forwarded to you. It's a positive trend, but it is not a formal announcement. So the partners are getting antsy on when is it. I would probably say the formal announcement will be in January with the actual signing of the extension. And that's what the government said, that they would do the negotiations, they would present the FMA for approval to cabinet in January.
Yes, okay, so nothing's been approved.
Nothing has been formally, so no signing of the FMA or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I guess one of the questions I could ask any of the Big Lakes councillors is, do they see movement on the log deck being, the logging trucks? Are they moving? Are they starting harvesting? They probably aren't because they don't have the FMA.
No,
Well, the FMA hasn't expired though, so therefore they could go. They could still go and log even though the FMA, because they still have that. It hasn't expired.
yeah. I thought they were clear that they were going to be waiting until, especially after the US election coming up, to find out who got in, because they did say at one of their meetings they felt that could have a big impact on the housing starts. And that might kill this initiative going forward. That was one of their big concerns.
I heard that in passing. I wouldn't call it a big concern, but it was one of the things that said in the future we have to be looking at that.
Yeah.
But anyways, so that's
Okay.
where that's at. And are you at the intermunicipal?
I won't be there tomorrow.
Okay, so, well, I'll keep you council updated on what Reeve Matthews has to say, because he wants, or like I said, Jeff Shalafu, who was the chair of that meeting, will be wants this brought forward. Okay, I move my report be received for information. All in favor? Did you put your hand up? Receive the report for information? Good. I didn't see your hand go up. Okay. Carried. Next item, Councillor Danaka. Councillor Danaka, no report. Councillor Gilroy.
I will give a very quick one, because it'd take too long to say all the ones I was at. But you have it in your report that I was at this CRC with my daughter, tended to be the first and only child there until a little bit later. Though it was funny to watch Danielle learn hopscotch from my daughter. The AUMA everyone went to, and we also had spent some time with United Cycling Sports Central, which are now here. Of course, the budget workshop everyone was at, organizational everyone was at. 2 watershed meetings. The meeting with the Wild Rose Shadow Minister for Economic Development and Trade and the Emergency Response Disaster. The Chamber of Commerce Gala, FCSS. Watched the Brownfield, or listened to the Brownfield seminar and participated in that. Was there at the, when they met with Wolf Brooks and some community leaders to try and get some extra economic stimulus in this area, and multiple contacts meetings with the Sesquicentennial. And I move the adoption of my report if there are no questions.
Questions? All in favor? Councillor Panasic?
Attended from our last meeting, or there's quite a few meetings, but nothing significant. I mean, that we weren't all at, or that happened in any ones that I went to outside of it. So that's no other report than that.
Could you move your report for
I
information?
move it for information.
All in favor? Motion carried. Councillor Courtley?
Verbal report, I was at, I went to the
the Alberta Parks and Recreation conference last week, which was in Jasper, and had a lot of educational courses. But my end result was it was my opinion that although that was well put on and there was a lot of good in it, but and I got to figure out how to get back to them, because it was really designed for more urban ideas and urban issues. But there was a lot of good that I got out of each course I went to, but the main design, excuse me, still was for the urban. And but all in all, it was a well run. A lot of the ministers were there and had really good speeches and stuff. So it was we got a lot out of it, but it just would have been nice to have a little bit more rural content to it. So I don't know what. I guess there should be somewhere you can go on and do a survey, maybe evaluation. Maybe I'll see what I can find. Okay. But I would rather have had more, a couple more courses dealing with the rural issues, not just straight urban. But all in all, it was a really good course or conference, I guess. So that's all I can explain the ones I went to if you wanted, but. There was a lot of different people there, so it was well attended. There's over 500 people there, so really good.
Any other questions regarding the recreation conference?
I can. It'd be very involved. Yeah.
I think there was a little bit that came out of the airport committee, I know, because I know you attended that. I came in a little bit late after the NLC one. But one of the things that I know, talking with them, just to update everybody, is the fact that the MD is fairly confident that they're going to be able to get some dollars to resurface the runway and extend it. And it's part of that money that they're going to get from the paving of the road, the Seal Lake Road, and that bypass road with McLennan.
So we're discussing with transportation company?
It probably didn't hurt it. Yeah. So it looks, they're very confident they're getting it. They got word that they were going to get it, but nothing formal, but informally got told that they were going to get some money to do that. Awesome. And that would include the widening of the road going into the airport. The main road going in, plus the lengthening of it and the resurfacing of the whole thing.
And can I add to that?
Yep.
Also, they have an engineered drawing now of expanding the actual hangar space. There's an engineered drawing so that it isn't just if somebody shows up, they just build one randomly. There's actually an engineered design. So if there's any more expansion as far as hangars, there's an actual design and grade height and a continuation of an actual solid design for flow and for newer hangars. Also, it's an engineered drawing, so actually very nice. It'll be eventually.
Mr. Walker.
Further to the conversation, I did get a call from an engineering company today in regards to the access road for the airport. Just so council knows that they are. It seems like they are moving forward.
Will that impact our budget at all? Okay. Councillor Gilroy?
Since you brought up the airport, I believe there was going to be did I miss the grand opening for it?
Hasn't happened.
That's what I was going to ask. When is the grand opening?
It's probably going to be after everything's resurfaced and looks bright, new, and shiny. It'll be next year. It won't be this year because obviously it's cold and the grass is still getting there. It's still a little bit muddy. The grass hasn't started growing. Once all of that stuff is in, it'll be next summer sometime.
We're talking May, June.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Councillor Courtly?
I move my verbal report for information.
All in favor? It's carried. Councillor Rose?
I passed along 2 items, the FCSS board report and a copy of the economic development and trade information that was provided to us. And I think I emailed out that information as well from the MLA or the shadow minister. Okay, so the FCSS board report. The only thing I'll comment on is the FCSS meeting. 2 things that came out of that have some value to the town, or we need to sort of put it for discussion, is the Red Silhouette Silent Witness campaign. They were wondering if the town of High Prairie would be willing to place a red silhouette on their front lawn to show support for the campaign. It's a symbol of domestic violence. So many areas, many communities will support the program by placing them in town halls or fairly visible locations in the community, just to show support for residents that are dealing with domestic violence. So that's something that I don't have the date down, so I'm going to have to, I'll email that out. We can then see if we have time to put it on a council agenda, or if that's just something that council can deal with via email. And then the other thing, just for information, is that the executive director, well, she attended a GAPS meeting in Grand Prairie, and they shared a lot of the area issues. And one of the issues that they're dealing with is, of course, lack of seniors transportation for medical appointments. They're struggling getting out of the area. Nice if we actually had the ability to attend them here, but they're right now applying for a MARD grant, M-A-R-D. And it sounds like in communication with the grant people, they have a good chance of being qualified for a $75,000 grant, and that's going to assist with medical transportation. They're currently working with the Golden Age Club to work out an agreement to use the seniors bus. And they're going to use the seniors bus 2 days a week. Sorry, 2 days a month, and book appointments on those 2 days a month, and try to work with the local doctors and see if they could coordinate specialist appointments to bring people from the county and the town to appointments. Now, they're still struggling a bit with the usage of the bus, but they're trying to use PD days, because also the driver of the Golden Age bus is a school bus driver. So anyway, that was just for information. Anybody have any questions?
Is FCSS aware that that vehicles used by private people to take anybody to a medical appointment, if the driver is low income, or maybe if the patient is low income, the driver can claim 36 cents a kilometer plus $75 for meals and that?
I don't know. I mean, that's something we should make sure that they do know. So that's just for your average person who has a family member that can drive?
Is it just seniors, or I think it's just seniors, but it's
How do they claim it?
they actually have a form that's, I'll get more information on it, but
yeah, we should make sure we provide that information, because in the interim, it's definitely a struggle. But this is just another solution. They sort of are mimicking
Smoky River
they're doing it out of Smoky River. So they had them in to speak, and they're sort of mimicking their program.
this travel allowance, I think it's in one of these programs that nobody knows about.
No, very underused probably.
So it's very underused.
Yeah.
So it came up at the Lesser Slave Rivers council meeting.
Yeah, we should find out if it's just seniors
That's where I read about it,
or.
and I thought, well, yeah, I've never heard of that, but apparently it's available. So I'll clip the article and email it out, and you can.
Yeah, no, that's good.
I'll see it.
Thanks.
Okay.
So I move my report. If nobody has any other questions.
Any other questions? None. Reports moved for information. All in favor? And it is carried. And this adjourns our special meeting. And we will take a